Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, you probably already know that I am off YouTube this week and I'm pre-filming this video to give you guys something to hopefully good and positive in your feed. Now, we're going to be doing this as player feedback. That means I dive into your comments and we're going to talk about what you guys are thinking, what you guys are feeling overall about New World. This is a New World focused channel, so if you do happen to hit that subscribe button, that's what you're going to get in the feed. If you do enjoy these videos, be sure to like them, as that is a great way to help them out in the algorithm. Now we're going to go through these just kind of top rated comments by the algorithm itself, talk about what you guys are saying, and that is the essence behind player feedback. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Feel free to weigh in the comments, or if you guys hit the like button on the videos right here, based off the size of the channel, any video that gets over 100 likes is going to be eligible for player feedback. So that's going to be the plan going forward. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's go ahead and dive in. Sir Mage Main, I ended up pinning this comment, says, glad to see a video popping off a bit, and New World is a very challenging spot to say the least. People who are enjoying themselves see the issues, report the issues, give feedback, but are trying to have patience with the devs. For some reason that jumped down heavily. Thanks YouTube. We know that there's a lot of work to be done, but we're enjoying things where they are now, hopefully without hopeful optimism. And then you have the people who are worried about sticking around will burn them in the end if the game dies, so they don't really play at all. Even if there's something here for them to enjoy, maybe not even trying it in the first place. And then you have the real haters, the people who laugh at those who have hope, and even if they aren't playing, they do everything that they can to get others to stop playing. Any kind of positivity is met with great criticism. The numbers reflect this in a lot of ways. I noticed a shift right after death of a game. I noticed how vindicated those haters felt and how it really supercharged them. I love Nerdslayer, he makes phenomenal content, but the kind of delivery a hefty blow to New World, and it made me sad because calling it that early really felt off, even for him. No offense to him, by the way. So here's a couple things we want to break down as a part of this comment itself. People who are enjoying themselves see the issues and report it with hopeful optimism. I think that's essentially that's a core aspect of why I actually have hope and positivity for New World, that there are people who are enjoying it, and I see people every day coming back to the game or starting the game, and I think that's a good sign of health. Now, would we like to have more players? Well, absolutely, because what happens within an mmorpg, I don't know why I struggle with those letters, dadgum you dyslexia, Death Spiral, is that you fall into player two, like people who are worried about actually playing the game, because if they spend time with it, will that time end up being for naught? Losing access to a game, especially a game that you enjoy, never feels good. And so these two things are kind of this actually kind of is one of the things at odds and working against it. Then you also have people, because one of the things that is a meme people keep saying is like, is this game? I thought this game had died. I thought this game was over. And that in and of itself is one of the things where the reward for being overly negative is in and of itself fulfilling a prophecy that is going to ultimately hurt MMORPGs in the long run. Will there be some kind of messiah MMORPG in the future? Maybe, but most likely what's going to happen is you're going to keep playing the same MMOs that you currently play today, and they're 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old. At some point it's going to be 40 years old, 50 years old, and at some point you're not having anybody come into the genre at all willing to put any kind of risk or investment, because it's just, you're going to have people, you know, who will champion you and then will cheer your downfall. And so that's why when I look at what makes a successful MMORPG, it's content, communication, and consistency. Like the 3 C's of building a games as a service is that you stop worrying about the haters and you just focus in on how you invite people back into your game, and how do you serve the players that are with you, and listening and communicating and sharing that. And if you do those things, and which aren't easy to do, but if you do those things, then you'll grow. The real haters overall who are cheering the downfall of like any kind of MMO, but focusing here on New World, this is a New World channel, are, if they are MMO fans, they're only hurting themselves. Like they're only shooting themselves in the foot. In the long run, what they're only doing is they're setting themselves up for a future where there aren't any more MMOs, and you don't have people coming into the genre, so it doesn't become sustainable even for the MMOs that you like. And that's actually like the bigger risk here. Now, what is that future, 30, 40 years from now? Because there's plenty of players at age that have the finances, but we're seeing big shifts in the industry. We're seeing big shifts in terms of monetization, and the genre, I think, will benefit if and when it's able to kind of like change the game, becomes sustainable in terms of its development and content cost, and then also having players understand that it's not about playing just one game until the end of time. Anyway, it's interesting to see. We'll have to wait and see how it goes from here. Fran says, a new world is far away from quote unquote dying. It still is an ESO level of crowd, but the last arena update and the PvP things has just shown that if AGS wants to get old players back, then they need to bring in a lot of new PvE and solo content to the game. Arena, which is a big PvP update, brings 0 people back, and I have a feeling that PvP players are the loudest and most demanding group in the game, but they are minority in numbers in entire player base, active and inactive. If I think of only adding in more PvE and solo casual content back to bring more people into a significant amount of new players. And I look at this in twofold. I look at it in terms of like, when you invite the casual player back, is there something to invite them deeper into the experience? And so investing in things like mutators and investing in things like arena-based PvP and having those systems in place, when you do start inviting and you still have that casual-based content, new like the Great Sword, for example, the new area, I still think that in terms of the overall player experience, you have a bonus level of experience on kill in the open world for enemies that have been live. You know, the longer they're alive, the bigger the bonus. Having a kind of a aptitude or kind of post level 60 progression that's driven off of XP, so all of a sudden quests, town boards, all of that becomes valuable. One of the core aspects of what New World makes it great is the fact that everything provides experience. The only problem is that once you hit level 60 and you don't need experience, everything loses a little bit of value, and it doesn't have to be that way. They just need to have some level of post progression XP that would end up benefiting, I think, all players in the long run. And so you kind of start doing those things. You bring in kind of leaderboards, both PvE leaderboards, PvEP leaderboards. Leaderboards might be more of a hardcore thing, but essentially all of a sudden you start bringing in and investing in the companies themselves. Like, why do you want to be a part of a company? What do they have access to? You have a lot of problems with shell companies and all of that aspect, but all of a sudden imagine if that even as a small company you're able to raise funds and do so many more things, and then have a company level and perks, and who knows, like there's so many things. Like when I look at New World and why I'm excited about it, it's all about its potential. Like it's got so many things that it could do, and it's just a matter of then, you know, waiting until they do those things and providing feedback and having kind of a bigger, deeper part of that relationship. I think personally for me is incredibly exciting. But some people kind of were like, oh, ESO, what are you talking about? It's great. Well, ESO also just released a new expansion, and ESO is a great model that New World should pay attention to, because like it came out and it was hard. It had to restructure, and within the first year, then they came out and then they said, okay, now it's free to play and here's all these things. And since then they've delivered an expansion year over year over year, which in my mind would tell me that ESO is a perfect game to kind of jump into and play. Sir Mage, again, dropping a 5 slot on a super thanks. Thank you so much, sir. Says, thanks for doing the video. It was enlightening, overall positive. I try to bring a level of positivity in terms of my experience as a developer and in terms of just my joy of video games. I always want to be very careful of, like, I'm not saying like positive for positive's sake, positive in, you know, with blinders on. It's like, no, like, let's talk about the issues. But like, I don't think hating video games is important. In fact, that's what I constantly advise people on, is that it's more important to take a break and play something else rather than hate a game. It's not the game's fault that I'm mad at it. Most likely there could be issues there, but like if I end up spending, you know, I've spent well over 5,000 hours in Final Fantasy 14, and if I can either get upset at the fact that it doesn't do this or that or these things that I want, or I can just go play a game that does, and then when I come back I can end up being excited about the things that it does well. I can of course, as I stutter, you know, provide feedback and continue to communicate what I want and what I hope for any game in the future. But, you know, like, you know, but I think it's just, I want to, I don't know, share the love I have rather than the things that piss me off. Namely because I think there's plenty of things that, you know, that could piss us off. And I, you know, like when it comes down to real world issues, man, like I could tell you, I get mad at a lot of things, and gaming is a kind of a, you know, an ointment, an aloe, kind of something, a soothing area that I can come in and just chill and relax and just like, you know what, doesn't matter what's going on, doesn't matter, like, you know, if you feel like you're getting punched in the gut every day, yeah, you can sit back and be like, let's talk about some video games. Ev with the $2 super chat. Thank you, Ev. Thanks for the info. I loved watching the New World content. Please keep up with the vids. And then, yeah, absolutely. That's the plan here, especially on this channel, as it's going to be focused on New World. It's going to be a good time. So I'm very excited. I'm really appreciative of the support this channel has gotten and the reception that you guys have by responding and subbing and following the videos. So especially while I've been like, you know, down on work, where my work hours have been cut dramatically. So it's like, it's not much. Like, I think overall the channel's made like, you know, maybe $100, which is great because it's extra little money coming in overall. So thank you guys for that, and thanks you for that super chat. Matthew says, I'd come back if there were more side content like Lost Ark has and eventually means something, side quest or zone completion that rewards you with things that you actually need. I agree with that 100%. I would love to see like even like a card game in the you know, in the ends, like things that kind of do and collect like side content. Like we talked about single player content. We talked about just like system based content. The dungeons being added. We know we got 2 more dungeons coming this year alone. I think that's great. And then the group finder is going to be great to help kind of get people more into that. But yeah, like there's got to be more reasons for running around and doing the content also that's there. And I think essentially if they kind of bring in a healthy balance with that, that'd be great. Side quests, they're there and they reward things, but especially when they just reward experience, like that stuff just kind of hits the floor. And so I find myself less incentivized to do it. Now, Brian Brooks says, I think that the Easter Rabbit event storage chest fiasco really hurt the game's recovery, killed 600 rabbits before it finally dropped. This event did real damage to the players' trust in the developers. I can see how individuals will take it. Like when I looked at it, it was like a pure RNG progression system. Yeah, that's not going to go over well, especially because people like are going to do it, not going to get it. I didn't get my chest. I killed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rabbits and didn't get a chest, and I'm actually okay with it. I actually enjoyed the event. I like it because it's not a one-time event. We'll see that event come back. We'll see that they'll probably make adjustments to it. If they add in some kind of form of static progression so that, you know, kind of a bad luck kind of thing. It's like, yeah, maybe you get it in the first, you know, some people got it like in the first chest, first 2 chest, like they got it pretty quickly. Some people didn't, and they had to keep farming it. It's like, yeah, I think essentially, you know, either make it sellable, make it to where like you get a token, you know, you turn that token in, you know, and so after like, you know that after 600 kills or even 1,000 kills, you get a guarantee. So, you know, I need to go kill 1,000 rabbits, and if it happens between then you get it, etc. But I don't know if it's, yeah, like I think essentially if that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, like there was other issues that you're already kind of just burned out. The question isn't about when people leave, because people leave MMOs all the time. They do in every MMO, every single one, you name it. You know, oh, this game doesn't. No. You go look at you actually go look at numbers, and MMOs kind of have this flow, especially as around content cycles. I think you'll see them, you know, bring people back in that have left, and maybe they need a good break at this time. But yeah, it's I would love to see the numbers start going up more consistently, but we'll have to wait and see if that you know, if they can continue to release content. I said in my last video, expansions are going to be absolutely critical to the success of the game. Expansions or big content drops, like one of the things that you want to see is that when a content drops, that it has the ability to hold you for quite a while. And right now we haven't really seen that. You know, the weapon was a big addition, but then that was also coupled with one of the hardest dungeons and gear score wise to get into. So it'll be interesting to see if the Barnacles and Black Powder has a much lower level of entry point for players to jump into. Clayton says, I put in around 50 hours a week on New World while working 46 hours for a 2-week month ending at 900 hours. I love this game and I feel like I got my money's worth, but unless they do a large content drop, such as a bunch of new PvE dungeons, new weapons, switching it up the skill trees, maybe a raid, new war variants like war scrims, etc. Yeah, I think the war, like a war simulation would be really cool and interesting to see. I think essentially same thing kind of with the invasions. They have kind of 2 pieces of big content that a lot of people can't participate in, or that they're on these schedules that it's like they never seem to work out for my scheduling, and nor like when they actually do come up am I even interested in joining at the moment. I'm kind of doing my own thing. So having a simulation of that kind of content would actually be really, really cool to see. Yes, they need more dungeons. The new weapon we know is the Great Sword. That's coming. And adding in more and more of those things, I think it's going to be overall the key to the success of the game itself. But they do have bits of content that it'd be fun for people to be able to participate in. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see. They're talking about it. They've said they've heard them, and they're looking into ways of kind of bringing that in. So it's going to be a matter of time and effort, but we'll see. All right, WRX says, I like New World a ton, but what killed the game for me was you needed to grind everything in a group or you don't see that part of the game. So I'm probably not going to return anymore. It just killed the whole mood for me. It was fun for as long as it lasted 270 hours. If I could do everything by myself, and I would probably return, but I don't think that will happen. And what sucks is that I'm really looking for a game to play again, but it won't be New World. I even considered Elder Scrolls, but I only have played that game for 30 hours. That's a hard thing, because the question is that the more single player and solo that you make an MMORPG, is it even an MMORPG? And so I think essentially one of the things that will be interesting to see, because I've even seen people express frustration of 14 making it more single player, and 14 will continue to become more and more single player, even though it was already pretty single player in the first place. What I hope for the future of 14 is that it has more of a hybrid, system, especially with its kind of trust NPC system, where like friends can still play together. If you got 2 or 3 and you don't want to bring in a random, then you can do so, because I think a lot of people end up just ultimately kind of moving in that direction. But then at the same time, like, if you're looking for a single player game, go play a single player game. I would recommend Elden Ring. I'd go recommend any of these other RPGs that really you can sink your teeth into, and you don't have to ever worry about interacting with anybody else in the game itself. So I wouldn't want to see New World become a completely single player game. I think essentially the single player aspects could be open world, could be you doing like the crafting and gathering. You can queue in for certain pieces of content as a single player, but yeah, like the more you make it single player, then you end up asking the question of why did you make it multiplayer in the first place, if all you did was just kind of strip out the thing that people wanted. But anyway, we'll continue on. Carrie says, excuse me, Carrie in this case, I still enjoy the game. A few months back, had a few months break because of real life, and now I'm back in casual ways. Seemed like there's a lot less toxic people in the game, and some of the players who seemed as toxic since day one seem to be non-toxic these days. Yeah, overall the community, I think, has gotten into a way, like, yes, there's still going to be toxic players. That's the multiplayer aspect of any game. But essentially when it comes down to it, I see that more and more the community has gotten closer, more supportive, more positive. I've even seen Reddit, talk about the game positively, that you can make comments about the game positively and not be essentially dogpiled on. So overall, I think that's a good move in that direction. And yeah, generally speaking, like when I log into the game, it's always kind of fun to kind of see what everybody's talking about and join in the conversation from time to time. Game Zone Reaction says world championships aren't handed out to whomever. Neither are 5-star titles like that rocked the world Fortnite a few years ago. The sad fact is, even 5-star titles that can hold a player's interest for longer than a month is rare. Now, when we're talking about MMOs, a game that people spend countless hours and days and months and years and decades in, and you're telling me that you can scrap together a bunch of unqualified developers in a field that they have no clue about them and put them into making the playoffs? They've even proven their flawed core mechanics, ever-changing vision and concepts, along with the team that is out of their league. It has been a living pipe dream that the whole time that they're taking us for a ride. As for Ash's creation, it has had a head start in having an experienced team that has some expertise in new technologies that are going to give a chance to rock the world. New World has one thing going for it. It's already released. The rest is an uphill climb from the pits of the corrupted portal. I wish you and well, good luck, adventurer. I think the narrative that the developers are inexperienced is completely fabricated to the point where you're going to see that narrative happen a lot. Like, it's just going to, people are going to hear it and they're going to accept it. Now, or like, when you go look at as a counter argument to that, WildStar, like WildStar had a lot of the WoW veteran devs come out, and where is that game now, right? So just because you have people who've like actively worked on MMOs before doesn't guarantee success. Just because you have MMO players or developers who maybe don't have the biggest pedigree in terms of MMOs, that you're going to be a failure. And I wouldn't classify New World as a failure by any means. Like, we know, for, like, generally speaking, easily 15 million. I've seen people speculate up to 25 million units sold. And so when it comes down to it, the fact that I think what they've delivered with the game itself really hits it out of the park. I think what people are frustrated at with the game is the MMO genre as a whole. MMOs tend to take 2 to 3 years to really fully mature and become a game that people can be excited about and champion, because MMOs are about a level of trust in developers and that process. And Amazon has to earn that. And the only way you really earn that is going through the gauntlet. So when it comes down to it, yeah, like I think essentially you can see people put together a team and build out something amazing. And I think that's what they did. And that's just my overall experience with New World. One of the things I really enjoy about it, you step into the game and it honestly just captures you. It's got a magic immediately that is felt in the world itself. Is that going to resonate with everybody? Absolutely not. One of the things that's always amusing is that, generally speaking, WoW changed how MMOs are perceived. And I think that it was a failure of WoW. In terms of what the MMO genre is. A lot of people love that. I think 14 is worse for it. I think overall, when you look at what makes an MMORPG, is these aren't these massive numbers. Like when you look at WoW's numbers, they throw off the curve. But when in reality, you know, with anywhere from 200,000 to 500,000 players, like that's a huge success for the genre as a whole. And it has this aspect to it that invites people in. And I think the business model in and of itself will continue to advocate for that. But we still got, you know, we still got a roadmap to follow. We still got time that has to go with it. And yeah, like I don't think that any MMO is going to come out and do what WoW did. Because there isn't a novelty that it does anything different. Other games have already adopted those features, and yeah, it's going to be a matter of that. Do the devs continue to step up? And if they do, I think they're going to do just fine. If they don't, then yeah, it's going to suck, because then a lot of people who love the game wouldn't have that aspect to them. All right, last comment. We went a little bit long on this video. Says, I'm not really aware of what's been going on with the game, but after long hours of killing free time playing single player games, I think I'm going to commit to New World as my sole online game for now. Not really a fan of playing different online games due to the time crunch. Edit 40 hours in so far and enjoying it with a very close group of mine. If you play with friends, like any game is going to be better. And that's one of the things that I think New World needs to do a better job at when it comes to finding friend groups and building kind of community features around its core application. One of the things I like about Gears of War 5 is that with Gears 5, like as you play with friends, like you level up your friends level and you get kind of bonuses and perks already in the game. There could be a negative to that in an MMO space, but overall, like having and facilitating more, you know, those friendships, build tight-knit communities, help players really kind of dive in and enjoy the games and experiences and so much more. Yeah, actually one last comment here says that what killed the game for me was realizing that I was the only one running around to help my clan. Yeah, Zach, and that ties exactly into what I'm talking about right here. Is that better community building, better support, getting people in connected. It's almost a way as like various different icebreakers. I think the fact that we'll have the group finder, that should hopefully help. I think essentially one of the things that will help is obviously content creators, inviting people to come play and do various things. And I think giving them tools will be interesting to see in the long run. And content. The more updates, the more things to talk about, the more we can be excited and we can share and we can continue to provide feedback and then communicate with us. But yeah, that's going to be it. This is a little bit longer video, guys. I'll see you guys next week as we kind of dive in. If there's any kind of news or anything that breaks this week, I'll come and jump in and explore that with you guys next week. So hopefully you have a great week. Hopefully you have a great weekend. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with the clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh.